Welcome to the Drawing Tools tutorial. Now the Drawing Tools in MapTool are fairly basic, but because they do allow you to draw in both color and with textures, you can actually accomplish quite a bit with them. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is just first quick show you the different tools you do have to work with, and then show you some examples of them in use. So first, what do you have to work with? We just click on your Drawing Tools selection here. Now you see you have your different tools, your freehand draw, your straight line, square, circle, and text. And I was going to show each of these in use, so you can see what they do. But first you see your quick palette pops up when you choose your drawing tools. And what this all means is you have your two big squares up here. Your left square is the color or texture that will be for if you're just drawing a line, or if you're drawing a shape, the outline of that shape. And then the right square is for the fill of a shape that you're drawing. Now you have your quick palette down here, and for these different colors, if you're clicking with your left mouse button, you're selecting the fill or the color texture for the left button. If you're using the right mouse button, you're doing it for the right box. Moving down, you have your width of the pen that you're drawing with. Right now it's set at 3 pixels. You make that larger. And then you have opacity, which is essentially transparency. So it's set at 100% right now. So anything you're drawing is very solid. Where if you set that to a lower number, it'll be becoming more and more transparent. And then down here you have the different layers you can draw on. So first, for an example of the freehand drawing tool, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Then I'm going to hash out the fill. The reason I'm doing that is because if you're drawing a line, you have the fill activated. When you're done, it'll connect the beginning point and the end point, and then fill in the gap with the fill that you have going on. I'm also going to go down and change the width to 200 pixels, make it much wider. Now I could choose a color from the quick palette here, or you can click on this right here on the box itself, and you choose these 4 different tabs here. With these first 3 different tabs with the different settings, you can create just about any color you'd possibly want. Or you can go to the texture tab, and then you can go into your image library and find a texture. I'm going to use one of the textures that comes with MapTool. It's arid, it's rocky, it's with a couple of pieces of green in it, so it's very good for a nice little gravel road. And that's how I created this road, and that's how I created the river as well, which is a water texture. You can just zoom in or actually if you zoom out, I should say, you can create a very long road very quickly. And then if you're drawing and you want to delete something, there's a couple different ways to do that. So if you're drawing this and you decide it's not quite where you want it, you can go to Edit and do Undo Drawing. It'll do the last piece of drawing that you did. Also in MapTool, remember that the Shift button makes whatever you're doing usually the opposite of what it normally does. So for example, right here, when you just click and drag normally, you're drawing. So if you hit Shift while you're clicking and dragging, now you're erasing. See how that erases. Now the other way is to actually go up and click the Erase button here. That makes the erase setting, and then you can delete that way as well. But I find sometimes clicking on that, I forget to unclick it, and then you can delete stuff you don't want to. So I just like using the Shift button because that only deletes when you're actually having it pressed down. Now something else to note is as I'm going back here and deleting more and more, you notice I'm not deleting anymore. It's no longer erasing. That's because this first initial part that I drew in the background layer. So when you're erasing, you're only erasing whatever layer that you have selected. So right now, all this other stuff is safe because I drew it in a different layer. And then just quickly how the other line tool works. You left click, you create the starting point, and now you can see how it tells you how far the measurement is out here. And then you can right click and create little waypoints and create odd little shapes if you'd like. And then when you finally left click again, it stops. And then if you had the fill going, this is an example of the fill real quick here. Boom, it connects there and the end point and the beginning point and fills in. I'll get rid of that as well. Now, moving over here, I'm going to do a quick example of how you can use the shapes to represent like area effects and things like that. So let's say this troll moves up and you want your mage to blast him with a fireball. Well, going over to your drawing tools here, you can go to the circle, and now I don't want the outline at all, so I'm going to hash that out. I'm instead going to choose the fill, and go down to one of the textures I have here. I have some fire textures. Let's choose that. So now we have the fire texture going, and I can just click here, and you see as I pull it up, it's going from that corner and drawing up, and it's giving you the dimensions of it. So you can see however big your fireball would be, and then click, and there you have your fireball. You might look at this and say, well, that's not quite right because normally you can see through fire a little bit. This is a little too solid. So let's go and undo that, and now let's play with opacity a little bit. Change it down to 50%. So now when you do it, see it's going up, and now it's a bit more transparent, a little more realistic for a fireball. Now, something else to keep in mind here is two buttons, Control and Alt. So if you click on your circle here, if you hit Control, it'll start doing snap to grid, which in the hex map like I have right here isn't that cool of a thing, but in a square grid, when you're trying to fit things in, those little 10-foot wide or 20-foot wide hallways and that sort of thing, or if you're drawing in a pit or whatever, that can be very useful. And then what Alt does is, instead of doing it from the corner like I was, now you can point it right, say this is going to be the center, hit Alt, and it goes right from that point. So that's the difference in Alt. And then I'm just going to show you one last quick example of how you can use the square one to make a quick house, say. So again, using textures, I'm going to go in here, and let's say you want to make a quick house, and so we'll say brick walls. So we'll go down and use some gray stone for that. That's for the outline. And then for the fill, we'll go down and use wood. And let's see here. Yeah, these are the ones we'll use. Now, how thick do you want your walls? Everyone's preference is a little bit different. For this map, I'll say 30 pixels and see how that works out. Don't forget to change the opacity back to 100. So, a quick house. Now, using the square you draw, and you see you have your stone wall and your wooden flooring. Now, to make some of the rooms in there, you can quickly just go like this. Maybe another room right here, and so forth. And then to make some doorways in there, you can just quick X out that, and then see here how, let's say you want it 1 wide, you can do there, and there's another doorway, and maybe you want your main door to be double the size. Oops, make sure that doesn't overlap. And there you go, and then you can just draw in actual images of doors and put them in there. And that's how, you see, you can use different textures as well as colors and things with these shapes, and to create buildings and effects and roads and things like that very quickly and easily. And I suppose one last thing I should just quick show you is the text tool. So the text tool, you choose it, click wherever you want the text, type in the word, and there it is. You click on it again with the text tool, and you can change the color of the text itself. That's what foreground means, and now you've changed that to red, so now it says red. And with the text tool selected, as long as you see the candy cane around the text there, you can just grab and move around wherever you like, or hit the delete key, and it's gone. So those are the drawing tools you have to work with, and some examples of how to use them. As you can see, especially when using the textures in conjunction with your drawing tools, you can make many aspects of your maps very quickly.